Mr. Speaker, I rise also to make my contribution towards the 2014-2015 budget estimates of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and in doing so, of course, to lend my support to the measures therein. But before I begin, I would just like to take a few minutes to reach out to the constituents or the residents of the PD7 constituency, especially those who over the course of the past 2 to 3 days keep on calling, messaging, when are you speaking, when are you speaking? And I'm talking about the residents from, well, Point Milat all the way to Belleville-Chopin, all the villages and hamlets in between Petit-Savan, Bagatelle, Fort Saint-Jean-Fab, Stowe, Dubic, Maranatha Square, Pichelay, and Belleville-Chopin. I would also like to congratulate, Mr. Speaker, take this opportunity to congratulate all the young people of the land, the recent graduates from the various schools, both primary, secondary, and of course the State College. Those who start exams recently, wish them luck. The results have not been made available. And of course the grade 6 national assessment exam sitters. And of course special mention to the students of the PD7 primary school, where we received 2 scholarships, from what I recall, and 2 bursaries out of 12 students, which I think is an excellent ratio, success ratio. And of course, special mention to this year's top achiever, Miss Precious Riviere, Mr. Speaker, who also happens to be by no coincidence. I guess hard work and intelligence runs in the family, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to reach out to a very special group of young people, Mr. Speaker, who myself, together with the Honourable member from St. Joseph, Ms. Charles, Senator Jajak, had the responsibility of interacting for the past months or so. And I'm talking about the youth arm of the Dominica Labour Party, the LYU. A remarkable group of young people, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure my friend Kenneth Darroux can allude to that, full of energy, who have recognized, Mr. Speaker, that this Labour Party administration is still the party of choice because of the number of programs and the hope that we bring to young people. They have virtually taken over the campaign, although none of us know what time or what the hour of election. But the energy and the intelligence of these young people cannot be underscored, Mr. Speaker. Also, like my cousin Kenneth Darroux, I made a note here of also welcoming the young senator from St. Joseph, the new senator to the House. Yeah, I know she's not here, but I think it's worth mentioning, and hoping that she would have reason to display a better sense of maturity and discipline than her colleagues, and of course, in doing so, make a more meaningful contribution to the House, thus earning a pay. But we saw what happened, Mr. Speaker. We saw that the young lady, from the time she stepped in, of course, she looked like she was excited to be in the House and wanted to make a contribution. In fact, between herself and the Senator Green, Mr. Seja, they probably used up about 12 pens, taking notes, and a number of notepads, taking notes. And you could see she was preparing herself, Mr. Speaker, to make a contribution. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, she listened to the likes of the opposition leader who, speaking of him, we listened to his pathetic rebuttal at the budget last year. I mean, we all remember that fiasco. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, just when you think that he would have had a whole year to at least every day sit down, make some notes, because of course you know that he's on the block everywhere talking and with bravado and on Facebook, etc. If you could just take a few minutes every day in between budgets, whole year, 365 days every year, to at least try to prepare himself better. Right. And you could see that he ran out not because he felt that he had to run out. He was very uncomfortable. You could see that, I mean, from the moment the opposition leaders to speak, Mr. Speaker, that he was like a fish out of water, poor guy. So, of course, the whole issue of Daniel Logan, the motion put forward, of course, was just an excuse for him to run away from this House. And, of course, Senator Williams, I hope you're listening. Okay, I'm sorry to say that you lost an opportunity to show the electorate of St. Joseph what is it that you could have offered them. And I'm sure that when the date is announced and the time comes, the people of St. Joseph will remember that. Madam Speaker, I would like to also congratulate the Minister of Finance and his staff for putting together such a remarkable budget. We all know the issues, the global financial meltdown that we also here in small island developing states like ours. We also feel the brunt of it. And it's not to gloat or to celebrate over others' misfortunes, but we hear what's happening, Mr. Speaker, in other Caribbean countries, even our sister islands of ours, mama tier economies in Europe. We hear what's happening. So to put together such a budget where we have no new taxes, in fact, we have a reduction in taxes, because you would have, with the Minister of Finance, put forward proposals to increase the tax threshold. Okay, so to put together such a budget, and of course we hear the opposition scoff at some of the measures, the disposable diapers measures. They laugh at it. But Mr. Speaker, sorry, clearly these are people who are not in tune. They are not on the ground. They do not listen. They do not know. They are unaware of the sufferings of the everyday, what I like to refer to, Joe public. They are not aware, because this budget, in addition to a number of exciting capital projects, also touches the lives. It's also going to touch the lives of the everyday man. We heard them scoff also at the whole sanitation project, what we refer to as the eradication of pit latrines. They laughed at it. But a few weeks later, we saw the article, of course, on the internet, where the United Nations itself launched a World Toilet Day. That is in order to recognize the sanitation and the health issues posed by pit latrines. And those of us who were unfortunate enough, or had the misfortune rather, okay, to use pit latrines, can allude to the discomfort of this. So obviously, Mr. Speaker, the opposition have shown time and time again that they are not in tune with what is happening, the reality on the ground. We had a Calypsonian some time ago sang, we cannot eat concrete. And we are aware of that, we cannot eat concrete. So while we do the concrete, we do the beautiful structures, the beautiful roads, we also have shown the people that we have the most intimate needs of the, as I said, the everyday man on the street. We have their needs and we listen to their pleas. The measures towards reducing the VAT and service charge in the hospitality industry, Mr. Speaker, is also a measure I'm sure that a lot of the people in the private sector and the hotel industry would have welcomed. But as they say, Mr. Speaker, the show must go on, and in this case it would be the house must go on. And for the past 4 years, I mean, we have done the people's business without any contribution from the opposition. So they being there or they not being there, it really doesn't make a difference, because the opposition cannot take credit for any meaningful contribution towards the country's development for the past 4 to 5 years, Mr. Speaker. And the results, of course, of the last general election in 2009, showed that. And the result in 2000, well, whenever it's called, Mr. Speaker, is going to show that the Dominica electorate is aware of what's at stake, because of the no contest, the no show of the opposition, and the lives. And we need to continue doing the work, Mr. Speaker, because the lives and the survival of many of our people depend on this Labour Party administration remaining in power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, back to the subject at hand, which is the 2014-2015 budget estimates. And I will take the next few minutes to describe briefly as to my stewardship at the ministerial level and, of course, at the constituency level. Fledgling ministry, Mr. Speaker, this grouping of portfolios put together after the last general election. And, of course, I remember the comments and listening to people, I mean, what is this? What is this ministry all about? But then again, the Labour Party, like everything else, has shown that it had the vision, Mr. Speaker. The vision that issues of environment and sustainable development, the importance that these issues were taken on the international stage and in political discussions. And the results of this ministry are starting to show. In other words, the work of this ministry is starting to be a fruit. During the period under review, Mr. Speaker, the Fisheries Division, of course, has embarked on a number of programs and activities aimed at the generation of income, creation of employment, of course, the enhancement of fish quality. We know a lot is being spoken these days of the quality, what they call phytosanitary measures, promotion in the area of fish consumption and the local economies, management of invasive species, and the overall management of the fisheries resource of Dominica and the local industry by extension. For the year under review, we experienced a relatively stable record of fish landings, which also reflects a slight reduction in production as compared to the last year. We think that this is attributed to a reduction in the number of what they call FADs, fish aggregating devices, in operation, as well as a change in ocean current and the emerging issues of climate change, which of course triggers effects of migration and mating habits of our pelagics, both coastal and ocean pelagics. Also of concern to the Fisheries Division, of course, is the slight increase in the volume of fish imports observed during the current reporting period. An estimated 1.367 million pounds of fish was landed over the 2013-2014 period, the highest fish production by landing side occurred in Marigot, followed by Portsmouth and Scorzed. The volume of fresh fish import, as I said earlier, of course, grew by 4%, and of course this is a little worrying, and we have to, of course, try to see how we can put measures in place to ensure that we consume the fish that we land here in Dominica. In other words, the same general concept of eat what we grow. In terms of training and development, the Fisheries Division continue to train our fishermen. And as I say all the time, no longer is fisheries regarded as a from sea to port or from sea to the rum shop type of activity. Fisheries can now be regarded as a career, and we have trained, or we try to educate our fishermen into seeing the fisheries activities as a career, one where they can earn an income, build their homes, buy their vehicles, send their children to school, etc. And the Fisheries Division, had been doing a wonderful job so far. Through our BFTC, what we call our Basic Fisherman Training course, in collaboration with the Coast Guard, Social Security, the banks, bureaus of standards, environmental health, a number of institutions, persons wishing to undertake fisheries as a career receive training on various aspects of fisheries development and management, and it includes subject areas such as safety at sea, small business management, very important, to be able to pay their social security dues in order, on their retirement, they know that they have something to live on. As I said, the importance of social security contributions. Okay, now the course is designed to prepare the fishermen for the challenge in running a successful fishing business, and to engage them in responsible fishing, best practices, sustainable fishing, in order to ensure that there is fishery stock available for future generations. Of course, our BFTC is the envy of the Caribbean, and the Fisheries Division has had them back on a number of training programs towards our regional counterparts. A number of other programs undertaken by the Fisheries Division would be the Eat Fish program, where we encourage, especially in schools, where we encourage the young people the importance of fresh fish as a main product, as a main protein source. Partnership programs. We've been involved in a number of partnership programs in the fisheries sector with JICA, and I want to take a minute or two to speak to our Japanese friends who over the years, Mr. Speaker, have made tremendous contribution towards the development of the fisheries sector. This is not to be, Madam Speaker, taken for granted. The contribution of the Japanese government through JICA, that is Japanese International Cooperation Agency, have made, especially in the area of technical expertise to our fishermen. Yes, we've seen the results, the fisheries facilities, the complex, the most recent one being in Portsmouth, Mr. Douglas. And we see these things. Okay, but there's a lot going on, Mr. Speaker, that the Japanese are involved in that we do not see. And I'm talking about the expertise that they lend to our fisher folks and our people in providing this type of exercises. We also have a number of other partners. The University of Florida entered into a partnership with us and the CRFM to strengthen the capacity of the fisher folk organizations. We're talking about the cooperatives, etc. The Magdalena project, which is a mud fish aggregating device in the Lesser Antilles, launched in Dominica in February 2012. And this project involves the launching of the deployment of what they call 2 mega fads, what they call smart fads, in the waters of Dominica to be used by the local fishermen. Now, these fads are constructed from what they call heavy-duty, durable materials and are equipped with radar reflectors and GPS locators. And these fads can, using our computer, we can, of course, tell the location and also all the other climatic conditions associated in and around this fad. The CRFM, which is the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, which is the regional branch given the mandate by the heads of state of the CARICOM countries to deal with issues of pertaining to fisheries. Of course, we have in the pipeline for the longest what they call the Common Regional Fisheries Policy, which is about to be, or we hopefully will be endorsed by the heads at the next regional meeting. We've done a lot of work in the area of resource conservation. We know about our marine reserve at the Soufriere Scotland Marine Reserve, and currently a project is ongoing where we hope to step up to beef up the management of this marine reserve, because we understand that in order to ensure the survival of the fishery sector, we have to ensure that the resource is used properly and used in a sustainable way. Invasive species such as the lionfish, we would have heard a lot of it recently, and just the other day, I think I visited a fish place in Point Michel, Honourable Martin, where they have lionfish on the menu, and this is commendable, because while the lionfish is a very invasive species and also very toxic, if prepared in the right way, it can be used as a food source. And I know a number of restaurants and bars and hotels here now would have lionfish as a regular part of the menu. The Ministry of Environment, as I said earlier, Mr. Speaker, as I said, in recent years, we've seen the establishment of these ministries and portfolios to deal with the emerging issues of sustainable development, climate change, etc., and all its negative impacts, environmental degradation. And the issue of climate change, Mr. is not new to us. I think over the past years, the environmental unit, the Ministry of Environment, would have done, a tremendous job in educating the Dominican public on the issues of climate change. And we are now starting to feel the effects of climate change. In other words, climate change is real. So whereas 10, 15 years ago, we would have heard a few folks talking about climate change, Mr. Speaker. And, Sayuka Palekot, what are they talking about? Right now, we are starting to feel the effects of climate change. We saw the weather event on the West Coast, and Blackmore 2 years ago. Flooding on the West Coast. And looking at the photos on the internet of cars and flooding. 10 to 15 years ago, if you spoke about flooding in Dominica, people would say you're mad. Okay, but we see this happening. And then Honourable Darroux, the Honourable member from St. George, spoke about $250,000 spent, we as the government spent in restoring boats and engines and equipment to the fishermen of Layu, of course, whom the storm took caught unawares. And this is the hallmark of this Labour Party administration, Mr. Speaker. I've repeated that when it comes to fisheries, we act as an insurance company, but without receiving any premium. In other words, they call on us to replace, to pay back, but we have never received one single installment or subscription of the insurance company. But this is the humane part of this administration, where we understand that we are not going to leave anybody stranded, because we understand the importance of the fishermen and the fisheries sector to Dominica's economy. First of all, as food security, and number two, the economic importance of the fisheries sector should never be underscored. Okay, we have to talk about it. The purchase of boats and engines, the purchase of fuel, and of course we can talk about the Petro-Caribbean initiative, where a number of filling stations have been constructed. The most recent one again in Honourable St. Martin in Scott's Head. And we hear the testimonies of the fishermen who before would have had to travel to town miles and miles, sometimes much to the embarrassment, being embarrassed by bus drivers and other vehicle owners alike. Whereas now they would have the fuel available right there, close to the landing site, available. And we need to underscore, as I said, the economic importance of the fishery sector. And Petro-Carib have Honourable Oshry. The Petro-Carib initiative have brought some sort of relief to these fishermen. And then the wonderful thing about this Petro-Carib initiative, Mr. Speaker, would be that these facilities are being managed by the fishermen themselves, by the fisheries groups, by the fisheries cooperatives. It means that whatever profits are made on the markup of the sale of the gas, and also the rebate which is being given by Petrocari for every gallon of gas sold, now goes back into the coffers of the respective cooperatives so they can use it towards the activities, whether the social activities, helping their members, etc. So we continue to battle, as I said, with the issues of climate change. Small island developing states such as Dominica, it's by no choice of ours that we find ourselves placed in that part of the world, that region of the world, where every year we are subjected to hurricanes and weather events from the Atlantic. And of course, with the advent of climate change, we see that these weather events are now becoming more erratic, they are becoming more intense. And what this does, Mr. Speaker, and it's very important, which is why later down in my presentation, I'm going to speak about this exciting PPCR and DVRP World Bank CIF project, where we have now taken steps. We are going to take steps to ensure that we prepare ourselves adequately for these adverse weather events. And, Mr. Speaker, as I said, it is through no fault of ours that we find ourselves subject to these weather events every year. And what this does is that monies, Mr. Speaker, that were earmarked for new developments, new projects, every year now has to be rediverted towards restoration. So every time we have one of these events, whether the foreseen event, whether the planned one, or the unforeseen one because of climate change, it puts us back somewhat. Because it means that a project, a housing project, some of the project that we would have planned to do, or road somewhere towards alleviating our people, this money now has to be rediverted towards restoration. So it's very important that we, the people of Dominica, the electorate, we familiarize ourselves and educate ourselves with the whole issue of climate change and to take the necessary measures. And later down, I will speak about our national land use policy, which of course incorporates these issues of climate change, where Cabinet has been provided, or has been presented rather, with a draft copy of a national land use policy, a CDB project, CDB funded project. And now the next step is on endorsement by Cabinet, moving to what we call a National Physical Development Plan, where zoning of areas for residential agriculture areas is now going to be produced. And we heard the leader of the opposition talking about zoning. So clearly you can see that they're out of tune. They take no time to find out what is really happening. But instead they come here and then they talk and they talk and they talk. Okay? Yes, like a fish out of water. So as I said, we are small island developing states. The issue of climate change is a serious issue for us, especially in the Caribbean Sea, what like the Caribbean small island developing states. A big main issue for us, as I said, because of the adverse weather events, and also because of our fragile economies. And of course, we know that over the years, the developed and more industrialized nations would have committed into putting monies into funds to allow us to combat climate change. Of course, this has not been happening, but we're hoping that sometime in the course of this year, probably early next year, the much talked about green fund will kick in, so we can start capitalizing and taking advantage of these monies available for us. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, small island states like ours had very little to do with the whole issue of climate change. Because those of us who understand the science behind climate change would know that a lot of it is attributed to what they call the emission of greenhouse gases. We're talking about exhaust from industries, vehicles, etc. So the contribution that we make towards these greenhouse gases is minimal or negligible. So we are calling on the industrialized nations, and we do that every year. We attend the United Nations Convention for Climate Change. Every year we have a seat at the table, a whole team of ours. We go in there where we group up together the other small island developing states, both from the Caribbean, the Pacific, etc., and they put our case forward. And we are hoping that the international community, especially the industrialized nations and the more developed countries, can hear our cry and start living up to their commitment. Earlier on, Mr. Speaker, I spoke about the PPCR or DVRP, the Pilot Program for Climate Change and the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. After 3 years of talk and preparation, we have completed what we call our low carbon climate resilience development strategy. And this is a collaborative effort between all the stakeholders here in Dominica. Remember 3 years ago when we did launch this program at the Fort Young Hotel, where we called in all the various stakeholders, the local government, environmental health, everybody came together where we informed them that we had potential monies available towards addressing the whole issues of climate change and reducing disaster risk here in Dominica. Since then, 3 years after, the government of Dominica entered into agreement with the World Bank for the implementation of a US $58 million, what they call DVRP, Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. And you would know that a few weeks ago, the Minister of Finance himself signed this agreement with the World Bank and the Climate Investment Fund towards the installation of this project. And if we go to the budget estimate before us, we'll see that almost $10 million have already been attributed, hoping to harvest what we call the low-lying fruits in this new financial year. And by the low-lying fruits, I mean probably the preparation of some of the major infrastructural projects, the construction of storm drains, and some of the other smaller projects. And the good thing about this, Mr. Speaker, is that some of this money, grant money, and the other what they call concessionary loans, 0.5% interest. In other words, the next best thing to grant money. It is expected that this project will undertake major roads and related physical infrastructure to include, and I know my good friend Johnson Drygo, the member for Castle Bruce, likes to hear about this project, to include improvements in the eastern and other parts of the country as follows. Pont Cassé to Bois Diab to Castle Bruce to Petit Soufrière, Castle Bruce to Hatton Garden, to include the Carib Territory and a Kingston. It will also include, and I'm sure my constituents, for those of you who want to know what is it that the budget has in store for us, Dubic Phase 1 cliff stabilization and road project.
That's right.
Because we have understood that these areas, that aforementioned areas, Mr. Speaker, have been identified as some of the most vulnerable areas in terms of landslides, etc. The Honourable member for Castle Bruce, 2 years ago, I think, would have had the most fortune of having loss of life, or lives in the Petit Soufrière area. So we, the government, are showing our maturity and our responsibility in putting steps. And of course, we were criticized for this project. We heard the usual suspects. I like to term them, I remember the term I used to describe them, Honourable Darroux. When I get it, I'll come back to it. Okay, the usual suspects. Okay, the sinister faces. They came on the ear. In fact, they tried to derail this process right into the World Bank and the Climate Investment Facility, advising them that here it is that we are taking environment and green money towards building roads. Yeah. Not taking time off to understand that in these interventions, Madam Mr. Speaker, okay, we are now going to protect lives and property, disaster mitigation. Okay, so they prayed about it, they did all sorts of about it, they wrote to the World Bank, they wrote to whoever, but as I said, the international community or the governments, these governments have shown that we are fiscally responsible, and that's why they continue to trust us and continue to put money in our hands to do the work of the people, and they will continue doing so, in spite of the opposition trying their best to derail these projects. West Coast water projects under the very same PPCR project storage tanks and water inventory, capacity building, formulation of special data management systems, improving and expanding of climate change and seismic monitoring system. It should also be noted, Mr. Speaker, that the low carbon climate resilient development strategy has been submitted as a national appropriation mitigation action. Of course, this was endorsed by Cabinet. It has been tabled under the United Nations Framework for Climate Change. And it is now a document now that we can now use to seek further funding. So we are hoping that this PPCR DVRP project will be the first of its kind, of many others. So speaking of the projects, Mr. Speaker, and maybe if I could just focus a little on the Dubic area, because it's part of the constituency. This is an area, Mr. Speaker, that I remember myself in my first 3 years attending secondary school in town. I think the latter 2 years I end up living in town, but the first 3 years I've been to travel this area on an almost daily basis. And there were many times, Mr. Speaker, that I would have had not for weeks in that. Those of us who are familiar will know what it looks like. In Atlantic on one side and these towering cliffs on the other side. So I think this is good news for the Dubic people, and not just the Dubic people, the entire south and southeast, La Plaine and Ivor, who use this as a road also to access the southeast of the island. That this is good news for the people of the south and southeast. that finally this area is going to be addressed. And I can say it's through the efforts of their current parliamentary representative that we are finally going to see this area being addressed. And later down, Mr. Speaker, when I'm speaking of the constituency, we will talk about plans towards the setting up of a marine facility right in the neighborhood, right in this particular area. That we're talking about the Studio Big Landing site. So I can already meet Mr. Speaker. I mean, from where I live in Grande, I have a bird's eye view of that particular area. And every day I come on the porch and I envision this sea wall and the roads in the big area leading right into this marine facility, that the proposed marine facility in store. And I think that if these things, that when these things are implemented, that we should see a major transformation, not of the physical landscape only, but economic landscape of the South and Southeast. Talking about jobs for people, etc. Of course, the PPCR and the VRP is well on the way. We have already installed the project coordinator, putting in place what they call a project coordinating unit rather. We would have seen or heard the advertisements for the other personnel that we are going to be needing to the setting up of this project coordinating unit. And a first disbursement have been advised by the staff of almost $1 million has already been sent to our coffers towards the implementation of this project management unit. The United Nations Framework on Climate Change, as I said earlier, every year at the Conference of Parties, we ensure that we send a team. I've tried my best to attend most of these meetings to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that we have a seat at the table when all these issues of climate change and all of this is being discussed. So we are not just about, as I said, about sitting down and putting up by the bay, or as my potential opponent said on the radio station, giving people VEP as a power rep, Mr. Speaker. VEP, hitchhike riding, okay? That's not what we're all about. Yes, we give people VEP too. Yes, I give people VEP too if I'm passing and somebody needs a VEP. Yes, I pull up by the bay from time to time and talk. But we're not just all about this, Mr. Speaker. We're about going out and talking to the people who matters, okay? Because sitting down by the bay, Mr. Speaker, and giving people VEP and driving up and down is not going to get you anywhere, okay? Because we need to be able to show the capacity, which is what the PD servant voters recognize, that in years surely that they have some the intimate needs. My friend Johnson Jago spoke of the funerals and the medical assistance. I attend to this also. But I've also seen that I have the capacity to go out and sit down at the table with heads of states, heads of government, and anybody else, and to fight for my people and to bring back results. Which is why, Mr. Speaker, that come the next election, the PD servant seat is one of the first that's going to be returned to the Dominica Labour Party, and I say that with the full confidence. And yes, sir. Madam Speaker, moving on to other aspects of of the ministry. We spoke about the land use plan and land use policy, rather, CDB funded project, which is right now being reviewed by competent personnel to forward back to cabinet for their final endorsement and to move on into the next stage of our project, which is the National Physical Development Plan. As I said, the actual zoning is going to be recommended to the government. And of course, we look forward to this physical development plan because it's, in addition to it setting out lands that are suitable for specific purposes, it's also going to avoid a number of the things that we see happen, especially after adverse weather conditions, where people sometimes build in areas that we know that are not safe for building. So all of these, the physical development plan is going to address all of these issues. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take a few minutes now to speak about my constituency. And of course, like others before me, every now and then you would hear people say, of course, the non-supporters, okay, or the blind ones, as the Minister for Social Services say, that nothing is being done in the PD7 constituency. Mr. Speaker, I have the opportunity to watch every now and then this program on GIS, where every now and then the Government Information Service goes around with the various parliamentary representatives to highlight some of the achievements in the constituency. And every time, Mr. Speaker, the one for the PD7 constituency comes up, I sit down and I watch it, and even sometimes I surprise myself. Because everyone knows, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues here can allude to it, I'm a very vocal person, and sometimes I get a bit rough in making a case of my constituency. But when I sit and look at the program, I tell myself, I mean, that I did all of this in just 4 years. And I'm sure you would have had the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to look at this program and where we highlighted just some of the major projects that we had in the Pitt-7 constituency. Road repairs are ongoing, and I would like to also reach out at this moment to the constituents, especially those of Pitt-7, who have had a lot of patience in awaiting this long-awaited road project. Yes, the actual ongoing project has had its few hitches, but I'm just asking that they just continue with their patience a bit longer, and pretty soon we should see finalization of this road project, the final sealing, etc. All the drains, road preparations for sealing have been done. So to just ask them to just hold on a bit longer, to just have a bit more patience. Exercise a bit more patience, like what they've already been exercising for the past time. We've done major repairs to the road from Dubic to Bagatelle. Of course, there are a few areas in between there which we're hoping to address in the new financial year under some of the maintenance money from the Ministry of Public Works. We've seen the construction of a bypass within Pitt-7, what I'd like to call the Darroux to Rooties bypass, an area which I think I remember once Honourable Ivor and Honourable Peterson had the opportunity or misfortune to use this area, where we had landslides in the southeast and also the main village road within Pitt-7, which is landslide prone, were blocked. And I remember the member for Grand Fond and the member for Lapland had to use this area, and it was basically almost impossible. I'm not sure if the members have had the opportunity to really return here to see some of the improvements to that bypass. In addition, it also served as an access road to the now almost complete Pitt-7 playing field, a brand new playing field, something that the Pitt-7 people never had, Mr. Speaker. We've seen interventions on the road from Pitt-7 to White River, almost $1 million there to improve the road surface. Road had been in a very deplorable condition for the past time, and I would like to thank also the contractor, Mr. Vidal, very good friend of mine, for his steadfastness and also his cooperation during this project. Of course, we recognize the other areas for intervention. The entrance to Font Saint-Jean, also very bad condition. We're hoping to address as soon as this budget is approved by this Honourable House. We've witnessed the commission in Pitt-7 of almost over $2 million water rehabilitation project within Pitt-7. Many of us here would have had the opportunity to be at the commissioning of this project. I spoke about the much awaited Pitt-7 playing field, very ambitious project in terms of location. We spent to date almost $400,000 in the construction of this playing field, and we're waiting a further injection of maybe $150,000 to take it towards playable condition. We're talking about access road, fencing, etc. The housing renovation, we've done quite a bit of work in Pitt-7, and it will continue, Mr. Speaker. And I'm sure me, like many of the other parliamentary representatives around in this Honourable House, eagerly awaiting the parliamentary approval of this budget, so we can continue aggressively our housing program. The setting up, the farmers group, the farmers group in Pitt-7, set up by yours truly, having received assistance, and we continue to receive assistance. Repairs to the health center, renovation of the primary school, and we'd like to thank the NBD for partnering with us in the fencing of the primary school. Meanwhile, we will continue discussions with the community center. We know that it is an issue on the table with the Pitt-7 residents. Storm drains in this coming budget. Remember, under our DVRP, we have $6 million allocated towards the construction of storm drains. And I know there are a number of issues within the Pitt-7 community that we will address in this coming year. Street lights are also other issues that we will seek to address in this new financial year. And under the ministry, Mr. Speaker, we just received an official communication from the Global Environmental Facility of the allocation of $2 million towards another street lighting, solar lighting facility. Of course, within the coming months, we'll be working in close association with the Ministry of Public Works, because we know that we have an ongoing street lighting program, Mr. Speaker, with the People's Republic of China to avoid any duplication, etc., and to ensure that a number of our rural communities, will be properly lighted under this project. We continue within the Pitt-7 community. We have seen the usual tapping in of government services, uniform assistance, textbooks, state college tuition, the National Employment Program, where our university graduates are currently employed, and a number of other young people. Moving on to the Bagatelle Fosasia, we've seen the construction of the Petrocarib filling station. I spoke about it earlier on, being managed by the Fosasia Fisheries Cooperative. This is a success story, being managed properly by the Fosasia Fisheries Cooperative. We've seen the commissioning of the Cadboy Water Project, road repairs within the communities. We have seen an improvement in the main road through the Bagatelle community, extensive repairs to the Bagatelle Primary School. Again, housing needs remains a priority, and we will continue with this housing program and sanitation project. We actually launched a sanitation program in Bagatelle. We've seen the construction of 3 to 4 bathroom facilities towards some needy elderly folks. And as I said, I can hardly wait for the approval of this budget so we can continue with this eradication of the washrooms. As I said again, a program that the opposition has scoffed at repeatedly, but we know the importance of this project for health and other reasons. We've seen the commencement of a new village road within Fosasia, and we hope to continue this and extend it under our community-based project funding. Assistance to fishermen from Fosasia, retrofitting the vessels, ice boxes, equipment, etc. All have been done through the efforts of yours truly. Another exciting project which is underway is the upgrade of the playing field and basketball court. We just started thanks to a cash injection of $80,000 on the community-based program. And of course, the young people of the Bagatelle area are very excited. We have seen the leveling and subsequent regrassing of the playing area, and of course the fencing, etc. On the new monies coming on the community-based program, we are going to upgrade the hard court into a multi-purpose facility. So this is something I know that the young people of Bagatelle and Fosasia are also excited and looking forward to. On the Run Australian Aid project, we have embarked on the improvement of a storm drain within the Bagatelle community, and we will continue this program under the BNTF7 Minister of Social Services, and of course our own what we call disaster risk vulnerability project. We're hoping that we can continue whatever is left to be done under this Australian Aid project. Like other constituencies, the 57 constituency has also benefited tremendously under our National Employment Program. We are about to launch a sewing program in the Bagatelle community where we purchased 5 industrial sewing machines, and the community center is about to be retrofitted to accommodate these machines. And of course, we've already identified a number of young people who have come forward, young and not so young, to start this sewing program. We are going to take on board the services of a well-known seamstress from the PD7 community who have already agreed to come on board to assist us in that program. So the resource center is also going to be converted into this, and also we hope on setting up an internet cafe, of course, for the Ministry of Information Technology, a computer cafe right there at the Bagatelle Resource Center. The area is big. I'd like to commend the leadership and members of the Dubic Improvement Committee. Recently formed improvement committee done under my watch, and already they've assisted in the implementation of the housing program in Dubic, and they did so very diligently and accounted for every single cent of the money allocated to them. We heard the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance speak about the allocation of lands at 25 cents a square foot, Mr. Speaker. Lands that the people have been occupying for decades but couldn't call their own. And along came the government, purchased these lands and have allocated to about 20 or so who are well on their way to owning a piece of the nature isle of Dominica. A number of them have already paid for these lands and are already beginning the construction. And those of you who haven't visited Dubic in a long time should take a Dubic, and you would already appreciate the changing landscape of Dubic, once known as a very economically deprived community in Dominica, and you can already start to see the transformation of the village of Dubic. So I urge you to take a drive there anytime. Of course, we'll continue our housing program, housing repairs, which remains like a very acute need in the community of Dubic. We've seen the recent dredging of the Dubic River, and under, of course, our same DVRP program, we're hoping in the construction of a small river defense wall, because those of us who've been to the Dubic would know that most of the residents live along the river banks, and we're hoping that under the storm drain program we can construct the river wall to offer some sort of protection to the residents there. On the BNTF 7, which is the next basic needs short funds project, Minister of Social Services. We have plans for upgrade of the community center into a state-of-the-art social center and other activities. I've also seen the formation of a farmers group, and we're also looking for land available into the setting up of a piggery. A number of young people have expressed their interest in coming together, set up a farmers group and requiring assistance to set up a piggery. Of course, with the advent of the abattoir, Mr. Minister of Agriculture, we're hoping that they can also provide the raw material to this abattoir. Fisheries group, and that's again with the approval of this budget, hoping to make a boat and engine available to this very group of young people, those of them who want to go into fishing. As I said, the issues of housing, the street lights, and employment continue, and yesterday the Parliament will seek ways and means to address these issues to the best of my ability. In the Stowe area, I mentioned earlier briefly advanced discussions with the Japanese on a multi-purpose marine facility. And I call it a multi-purpose marine facility and not a fisheries complex, because the idea that we have is to construct a facility that's not going to encompass the fisheries sector, but also other related marine uses of the marine resource. And we're talking about for recreation. This area I've been told is a very beautiful dive site. In fact, a number of the clients from the hotels in the southeast of the country, Jungle Bay, Rosalie Bay, they come here to do some kayaking and diving, snorkeling, etc. So we're hoping that we can change the concept and the idea that fisheries and other uses of marine resources cannot coexist. Already designs, preliminary designs or visual concept of what we want the area to look like has been submitted together with a concept paper to the Japanese. And I see the permanent secretary here with me. He will tell you that for the past 2 years we've been in really deep discussions with the Japanese government, and we are very confident, we are very optimistic that this project will soon receive the final nod of approval from the authorities in Tokyo. And as I said, transform not just the physical landscape, but also the economic landscape of that part of the country. Because with the advent of this proposed project, we can envision the creation of many opportunities, job opportunities, not just for fishermen, but other users of the facility. Where we could be renting out stalls and stores, renting diving equipment, etc. Okay, so we are hoping, Mr. Speaker, as I said that, and I'm very optimistic and very excited about this project. And I said I'm hoping that pretty soon that we can receive the final nod of approval from the Japanese authorities, and we can see the actual groundbreaking and subsequent construction of this marine facility in this Ubique Stowe area. I dream of it every night, Mr. Speaker, of this project. Yes. In Pishlem, Mr. Speaker, we've seen, of course, in addition to the housing repairs, housing renovation projects, we've seen the construction of a much-awaited access road to the health center, community center, Roman Catholic Church basketball court. The Pishlem community has been asking for this for decades now, and we've seen the construction, the finished project in this area to the tune of almost, I think, over $400,000. And as we speak, funds have also been made available towards the upgrade of the Pishlem basketball court. We had the young guys who do very well in basketball. I want to reach out to them, congratulate them. Funds have already been made available to them towards the upgrade of their court, state-of-the-art material and preparation, rims, etc., and lighting of the Pishlem basketball court. And for this they are very happy. Bellevue Chopin. We've seen, go back to Pishlem, we've seen 6 slots available in the Maranatha Square area for the young people, and already in the Shard, we've seen some people already starting to build with these lots allocated to them at the squatters' price of $1 square foot. And as we speak, the Wasco is currently undergoing a $75,000 water project towards providing potable water to the new settlers in that area. Extensive work has been done to the school, all in an effort to ensure that the young folks of the constituency are educated in a very in an optimal environment. We've seen also development of the Ostaf-Makaton feeder road, a project which I shared with my neighbor and good friend, the member for Grand Bay. In Bellevue Chopin, of course, we've seen the allocation of homes to 8 families, a $3 million housing project. and it's the sale of free orders. We're talking about homes probably value of maybe almost $300,000 being allocated to the residents of the Grenville area, which were threatened by landslide some years ago. And of course the government, again, because of our humane nature, moved in and committed themselves into relocating these residents. In addition, 15 lots at a reduced price given also to residents of the area. As we speak, we've also witnessed the commencement of what they call the Margot to Grenville Link Road, by again made from funds made available from under the community-based projects. Also, we've started work on the Grenville Road, deplorable condition. We just received a cash injection of $80,000, and the contractor has already started work. Of course, it has been in a deplorable condition. So the issues continue. The issue of housing, the main Margot Road needs some attention, street lighting, employment. But yes, truly, the PARAP will continue to push forward and forge ahead in seeking to address these issues in my next term, Mr. Speaker. And there's no doubt that I will have a next term. In addition, on the BNTF 7, already it's been approved, the upgrade of the Bellevue water system. In fact, just this morning I gave an elderly gentleman a VEP, Mr. Speaker. yeah, a VEP, on the way down to Tongue, and he told me that there's just one thing that he wants, is that part of Bellevue area called Piero, that they don't receive any water at all. And I assured him that on the BNTF 7, which we hope will kick off very soon, Madam Minister of Social Services, that the Bellevue water system has already, upgrade right of the Bellevue water system has already been approved. And we are hoping that this upgrade will extend all the way to the relatively new area along the Bellevue to Pishney bypass, and also hoping that we can extend it down all the way down into this southern area of Pishney called Flip, which also have a water problem because of the height from the main Pishney water system. We continue, as I said, to enjoy all the other major social programs being offered by the government, the Yes We Care, the textbook scheme, transportation for students, uniform assistance, scholarships. Again, every time I get an opportunity to speak, I want to thank my colleague, the Minister of Education, for his patience with me. I think together with myself and together with Johnson Drago, we were the most frequent visitors to the Ministry of Education, seeking assistance, both scholarships and otherwise, locally, regionally, and internationally for our students. And this is one thing I think that cannot be questioned, my impeccable record for pushing for my students in the Pittsburgh constituency during my short tenure as power rep so far. Number of our students right now receiving scholarships and other financial assistance to regional and other international institutions. And I want to assure the constituents of the Pittsburgh area that I will continue to represent them to the best of my ability. And a number of the allocations under the various ministries, for example, the Ministry of Trade, where we see some money being allocated for the continuation of the apprenticeship program. Already we've had ideas being put forward from residents of the Bellevue, Chopin, Bagatelle area that this will be put forward. And well, the Minister of Trade is not present, but just rest assured that we'll also receive our fair share of the money being made available here. The public support program, I'm pleased to see that $1 million has been made available in the new financial year to continue this program. Mr. Speaker, and while some again scoff at it and ridicule what they call the Red Clinic, as a parliamentary representative, I am extremely happy and grateful that such a facility exists within the government system. That's right. Because, Madam Speaker, there have been times when constituents have approached us, and each and every one of us, and with their back against the wall. And I don't think that none of us, any of us, rather, Madam Speaker, are immune, okay? Are immune to this. There are times, Madam Speaker, because of misfortune and hardships, that we will find ourselves with our back against the wall and nowhere else to turn to in cases of emergency, especially medical emergencies. And I'm very happy and grateful that such a facility exists within the Prime Minister's office, where we can get a quick fix, Madam Speaker, quick action facility to be able to assist these constituents. Madam Speaker, and as a power rep, no road, no infrastructure, Madam Speaker, sorry. Okay, nothing brings greater joy to me. Yes, I pass around and I see the roads that or whatever it is, and we feel a certain sense of pride and joy. But Madam Speaker, it brings greater joy to me when someone returns, Madam Speaker, from overseas and they come back to your office and tell you, Dr. Thanks to you and the Prime Minister. Can you please take me to the Prime Minister Minister, so I can express my thanks to him for in the monies, the resources to us to be able to allow our child, our daughter, our father to seek medical assistance or otherwise overseas. This is what brings the greatest joy to my heart. Of course, you know, Madam Speaker, medicine is my first love, so probably that is why. But it brings greater joy to me than passing around and looking at the roads and the concrete, as the Calisonian said. So I'm very happy that an allocation is made available there to public support program. We hope together with Johnson Drygo, of course, frequent visitors, okay, yes, to the PM's office to access this program. Under the Ministry of Housing, and the $10 million being made available, and many of us and Dominicans would have heard the.
You have 4 minutes left, eh?
10 more minutes. 10. Yeah, 10.
Madam Speaker, I move that 10 minutes be given to the Minister for the completion of his presentation.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the Minister be given a further 10 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you, colleagues, and thank you, Madam Speaker. I said we would have remembered at the May 5th rally where the Honourable Prime Minister, and Minister of Finance made this announcement, our aggressive program in continuing the housing revolution. And I'm pleased to see that an allocation of $10 million have been made available towards that cause. And already after the following the May 5th, I'm sure many of us, our constituents, would have purchased, Ose Kaila Zokalfela, meaning, translated, Madam Speaker, okay, we heard the Prime Minister mention housing, okay, and when are you guys going to start? Because I'm sure all of us here can allude to it that this is probably one of the most sought, or one of the most common requests that we get as members of Parliament, which is for housing renovation and housing repairs. Also, under the Ministry of Public Works, I'm pleased to see that we have allocation of $810,000 towards the P7 to Buetica Daly's road rehabilitation, which we hope to continue. Again, as I said, the road had been in a deplorable condition. Have already received some attention, and we're hoping that this project can continue to bring some sort of alleviation to the road users. I mentioned earlier the solar street lights, Honourable Blackmore, the People's Republic of China, that we're hoping that with the monies that we're getting from Jeff, which will kick into the new financial year, this current financial year, that we can complement this needed project, and especially the lighting up of rural areas. After, of course, we take care of the urban areas. So, Madam Speaker, as I said, looking at the budget and the measures in the budget, the new capital projects, the new exciting projects that this government has lined up for Dominicans, and of course the measures I said that are going to alleviate the lives and the lives of everyday Joe public, the much laughed up disposable diapers, Madam Speaker. All of these projects, as I said, have shown that this government, as I said, in addition to the infrastructural development, that will listen to the cries of the everyday man. And even the $200 monthly allowance, Madam Speaker, for people over 70 who are not currently receiving any form of pension or any form of reimbursement. Already, following the Prime Minister's budget address, the Secretary from the Constituency Office messaged me telling me that already the office is flooded with people, Madam Speaker, coming to register and coming to ask questions about who qualifies or whether they qualify or not for this. So what I said to many of us, Madam Speaker, who earn a reasonable salary, the $200 would be surprised, Madam Speaker, how this will go a long way into alleviating the plight of the elderly person who's home and maybe does have his $10 light bill to pay, his probably LPG bottle maybe every 3 months, and to buy, of course, his little groceries for his consumption. So, Madam Speaker, with all of the measures that I said that was mentioned in the Prime Minister's budget address, and with all of these exciting capital projects on the way, I stand here, as I said, to support this budget and to support it fully, and look forward to the Parliament's final approval of this budget so we can begin the implementation of these measures. I thank you very much.